The restaurant glimmered under warm golden lights as Luna balanced 3 plates on her tray, her smile a mask hiding the exhaustion of a long shift. The night had been endless, rude customers, spilled coffee, aching feet, but she kept moving. Every tip mattered. Her little brother was waiting at home and his school fees were due in 2 days. As she served a new table, her eyes caught a man sitting alone near the window. He was older, confident, wrapped in a perfectly tailored suit that whispered of wealth and power. Yet there was something hollow in his eyes, something tired. He scrolled through his phone between bites, ignoring the world around him, until suddenly his hand froze mid-air. The fork slipped from his fingers. His face lost all color. Luna felt her heart jolt. The soft hum of jazz and chatter blurred as she saw him clutch his chest, struggling to breathe. For a moment no one noticed. The world kept spinning, but Luna didn't think twice. She ran. Her tray hit the floor with a crash as she reached him, steadying his collapsing frame. "Sir, stay with me," she said, her voice trembling but firm. The restaurant turned silent, eyes wide with shock. No one moved, no one spoke. Luna's shaking hand searched for a pulse, her mind racing. She remembered her basic first aid training, and somehow, her fear turned into focus. In that instant, she wasn't just a waitress, she was someone's only hope. And she had no idea that saving this stranger would change her life forever. The sound of sirens filled the air as paramedics rushed in, their voices echoing through the stunned restaurant. Luna stepped back, her hands trembling but her heart still racing. The man, who she now knew was named Ethan, was pale but breathing. She watched as they lifted him onto a stretcher, his weak eyes meeting hers for a brief, wordless moment. There was fear in them, and something else. Gratitude. The door closed behind them and the world went quiet again. Guests whispered. Dishes clinked softly and Luna suddenly felt small, like the chaos had swallowed her whole. She tried to return to work, but her hands refused to stop shaking. Her manager told her to go home early, yet her thoughts stayed behind with the man she had just saved. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, the way his hand had reached for hers before fading into unconsciousness. She didn't know his story, but she could sense the weight he carried. The next morning, Luna passed by the hospital on her way to work, unsure why her feet had led her there. Through the glass door, she saw him in a wheelchair, alone, staring at the sky. For a moment, she almost walked away, but something inside her whispered that their paths weren't meant to end at the restaurant. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, unaware that one simple act of kindness was about to rewrite both of their destinies. Ethan sat in the hospital garden, the morning sun warming his pale skin. His breathing had steadied, but his mind was restless. He wasn't used to weakness. His whole life had been about control, power, and precision. Yet now even lifting a cup of coffee felt like a reminder that he wasn't invincible. The waitress's face flashed in his mind again, her calm eyes, her steady hands. He wanted to thank her properly, but part of him also felt ashamed. He, a man who built empires, had been saved by someone who probably earned less in a month than what he spent in an hour. Still, he couldn't forget the sincerity in her voice, something money could never buy. Luna stepped quietly into the garden, unsure if she should interrupt. When Ethan looked up and saw her, surprise softened into gratitude. "You came," he said, his voice quiet. "I just wanted to see if you were okay," she replied, smiling nervously. He studied her for a long moment, then said, "You did more than save my life that night. You reminded me it still had value." For the first time in years, his words weren't part of a negotiation. They were real. He asked her to sit, And as they spoke, Luna learned that the man she saved wasn't just a millionaire. He was someone lost behind his own success. Neither of them realized that this unexpected bond, born out of fear and courage, was about to lead them into a journey neither could have imagined. The days that followed turned into quiet exchanges of words and moments that neither expected. Ethan began visiting the restaurant again, not as a powerful businessman but as a man rediscovering life. Each time Luna tried to treat him like any other customer, but something unspoken lingered between them, a fragile thread of connection that neither dared to name. He would sit by the same window, order the same tea and ask about her day. She laughed for the first time in weeks, and he listened as if every word she spoke carried weight. The cold walls around his heart slowly began to melt. One evening after closing time, Luna found him waiting outside holding a small paper bag. "For your brother," he said softly. Inside were new school books and a small note that read, "For the future you fight for." Luna's eyes filled with tears. "You didn't have to," she began, but he interrupted gently. "You reminded me what truly matters." That night, she walked home under the streetlights, the wind brushing against her face, her heart caught between gratitude and confusion. She had saved his life, but now in small and unexpected ways he was saving hers. Yet beneath that growing bond a question remained. Why did a man like Ethan look so lonely even when surrounded by everything money could buy? Something deeper was hidden behind his kind eyes, and Luna was about to discover a truth that would change everything. The following week, Luna noticed something different about Ethan. The quiet man who once seemed untouchable now looked lighter, as if a weight had finally lifted off his shoulders. He began opening up about his life, his late wife, the empire he built, and the emptiness that came with success. "Money can't fix everything," he said one evening, staring out the window. "I spent years buying things I didn't need, just to fill silence." Luna listened, not as a waitress but as someone who understood loneliness. Her heart ached for him, yet she saw strength in his honesty. But that same night her landlord handed her an eviction notice. Her rent was overdue again, and her brother's school fees loomed like a shadow over her hope. She didn't mention it to Ethan. She didn't want pity. Yet the next morning, he appeared at the restaurant with a simple request. "Would you help me with something?" he asked, offering her a temporary position as his personal assistant while he recovered. Luna hesitated. She wasn't sure she belonged in his world, but his sincerity left no room for doubt. "Sometimes," he said gently, "life sends us the people we need most when we least expect them." As she accepted, she didn't know that this step would take her far beyond gratitude. It would lead her toward a truth about Ethan's past that would break her heart and change her future. Working with Ethan felt like stepping into another world. His office wasn't just filled with wealth. It carried stories of a man who had built everything but lost himself along the way. Luna organized files, answered calls, and slowly learned the rhythm of his life. Yet beyond the routine, they shared quiet lunches and conversations that touched something deeper. She began to see the man behind the name, the one who laughed easily now, who looked out for others instead of staring at numbers on a screen. For Ethan, Luna was a reminder that compassion still existed in a world that once only measured worth in profits. One afternoon, while sorting papers, Luna came across an old photo tucked inside a drawer. It was of Ethan, years younger, standing beside a small restaurant, a familiar one. Her heart stopped when she noticed the sign. It was her parents' old restaurant, the one they had lost before their passing. Ethan entered just as she held the photo, his eyes soft but full of truth. "Your parents helped me once," he said quietly. "They gave me food when I was broke and had nothing. I never forgot their kindness." Tears welled in Luna's eyes as the realization struck. Fate had brought them together not by chance, but by the same circle of kindness her parents had once begun. Ethan smiled and placed an envelope on the desk. Inside was a letter of recommendation and the deed to a small cafe. "For you and your brother," he said. Luna's voice trembled as she whispered, "Why me?" Ethan smiled gently. "Because you saved me twice. Once in body, once in spirit." And in that moment, both realized that sometimes the smallest act of goodness can echo across years, changing lives in ways no one ever imagines.